Hi there! Thank you so much for joining me today. This is Julie DiMatteo from the paperpixie.com. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in the US, and in this video tutorial I have this really cute tapered triangle gift box featuring the Tidings of Christmas suite. I want to give a shout out to Anne Melvin of Positively Papercraft. I absolutely loved her tapered triangle box. I pixified it a little bit, but I can't wait to show you how to make this. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to be using products from the Tidings of Christmas suite. That's on page 88 and 89 of the 2021 to 2022 annual catalog. I also wanted to point out one of the papers we're using is hidden here on page 135, here in the lower left corner, and that's the gold and rose gold metallic specialty paper, so you'll see me use that on this project today. Alright, so we're going to be using a little bit of geometry today, but stick with me. I'm going to make this really easy for you to make, this unique box. We're going to start with a piece of evening evergreen cardstock that measures 4.5 inches by 9 inches. And along the 4.5 inch side, we're going to score it at 1 inch. Then I'm going to rotate it clockwise where we have the 1 inch section at the top. And first I'm going to make a tick mark at 1/2 inch. Now I'm just taking the ball tip of my stylus and pressing right at the top of the Simply Scored at the 1/2 inch mark. The next 4 score lines, I'm going to score only down to that first score line. So we'll do 1 inch, 4 inches, 5 inches, 6 inches, and 7 inches. Then I'm going to rotate it 180 where we've got our 1 inch section now along the bottom. And we're just going to do tick marks on this side, and those measurements are going to be at 1, 2, 6, and 7. Now those tick marks are going to help us with our diagonal score lines. Now hold on to your stylus from the Simply Scored, or you can use the stylus from the Take Your Pick tool. And let me bring in the template here. Let's get these both in the screen, and I want to walk you through how to do these diagonal score lines. You want to grab a ruler. This is my favorite one that I've got linked on my favorites page, a 6-inch metal ruler here. We're going to start by scoring this first score line. We're going to start on the edge of the cardstock where the 1 inch score line meets it. We're going to score down on an angle to that first tick mark along the bottom. So I like to make sure I line up the stylus first so you leave room for the stylus ball tip, and then bring the ruler to it and score. We're then going to shift over 1 inch, and we're going to go from the first score line at the top down to the second tick mark at the bottom. Like so. Now we're going to kind of switch angles here. We're going to start from the second score line from the top and score down to the first tick mark at the bottom. So second score line from the top, first tick mark on the bottom. We're going to shift over 1 inch, and again we're going to do the third score line from the top, scoring diagonally down to the second tick mark along the bottom. Let me show you what that looks like on the cardstock. A really cool geometric pattern happening there. Now the next score line is going to be the same score line we just scored from. We're going to go in the opposite direction, and we're going to score from the third score line down to the third tick mark along the bottom. The only difference on this score line is we're going to score all the way to the top of the paper. So you want to get your ruler lined up at that score line and then the tick mark on the bottom. So again, third score line, third tick mark. But we're going to score all the way to the top of the paper, like so. That's the only score line that we're going to do that on. All right, now we're going to move over to the fourth score line from the top and score diagonally down to the fourth tick mark along the bottom. Then the fifth score line from the top, diagonally down to the corner, like that. Okay, we've got one more score line to do here. Now we're going to go from the third tick mark from the bottom and score up on the diagonal to where the 1 inch score line meets the edge of the cardstock. And your score line should look like this. Now we just have one more score line to do. I'm going to rotate this 180, and where we have that little tick mark down here in the lower right, we're going to score from the tick mark up to where that 1 inch score line meets the edge of the cardstock. Now this is just to give us a cut line, and you could simply just take your scissors and trim it, but I'm going to go ahead and just do the score line so we can see everything at once, like that. Now these two odd shaped sections are actually going to turn into our tabs. Let me flip the template around here. We're going to start by cutting on that little angle on the lower right corner and removing that corner. Then I'm going to cut up the next vertical score line to the left, stopping at that first horizontal score line, then the second from the right. And then we're going to cut up this angled score line, but stopping at that 1 inch horizontal score line. So we've kind of released these two tabs. Now I can turn it a quarter of a turn, and we're going to remove this whole section along that 1 inch score line. Like that. Now I'm going to fold the tabs out of the way because we also want to remove this section. The bottom's looking really good there. I'm going to rotate it. We'll rotate the template as well. And I want to remove this whole triangle here on the lower right corner. So I'm just going to cut right up that score line. Like so. And then we're going to remove this tiny triangle right here on the edge. All right, so that's looking like the template as well. The final cut here is I'm going to cut up this diagonal score line, but only go up to that next diagonal score line. This is going to create a little triangle tab here. I'm going to stop right there. So we just have that little triangle there. Okay, now what we can do is fold and burnish on all our score lines. And then don't forget to fold and burnish on those tabs. All right, so there we've got it. Now, we're going to treat this little triangle here like it's a tab in a box. Let me fold that out of the way to isolate it, and I'm just going to come in and slightly miter cut or angle cut to notch it out, just so we don't have any edges in our way. And I think you can see how I just cut out a little sliver. And then the last piece we're going to miter cut is just this edge right here. That piece is going to fold into our box, so we're just going to miter cut like we would do for any other box. Like so. Now let's decorate it first with some designer series paper. Now there's two different ways to do this. If you like the easy button and you've got the stitch triangles dies, or you want to add this to your stash, I grabbed the second from the largest of the equilateral triangle, and I die cut a piece of the Tidings of Christmas designer series paper. Let me show you that really quickly. This is a beautiful 6x6 designer series paper that's included in the annual catalog. Love the colors and the patterns in this. And that's going to fit perfectly here, like so. Now, if you don't have the stitch triangles dies, this is the easiest way for us to get an equilateral triangle. There's a number of ways of going about doing it, but again, we're talking about some geometry, so it's a little tricky to turn that into paper crafting sometimes. So this was the closest I could get. I started with a piece of the Tidings of Christmas designer series paper that measures 2 7/8 by 5. Now we're going to get 2 equilateral triangles out of this, so this is great if you're going to be doing multiples. And I'm just going to bring in my paper trimmer for this, and essentially what we're going to do is cut this on the diagonal from corner to corner in both directions. So it's really easy for the first diagonal cut. Just line it up in the cutting groove there, both of those corners, and cut. Now when we rotate this, we want to keep the paper together as best we can. So you may need to line it up again right before you cut, but again, we're going to do corner to corner. And I just want to make sure that I've got those pieces aligned. This is a little bit finicky. One thing you could do is just tape them together with a Post-it note or maybe some washi tape. But once you get that lined up in the cutting groove, then you can come in and cut again, corner to corner. What you're going to be left with then are 2 equilateral triangles. These will work with the tapered triangle gift box. And then you have these 2 isosceles triangles, which actually be a really pretty element to add to a card front. This edge here is 5 inches long, and I just think that would be a really beautiful design for a fun card front. So save those pieces, don't waste them. And then we've got 2 equilateral triangles that are going to be 2 7/8 on all 3 sides, or really darn close. We can't get it exact, but it's close enough. So let me just show you how that's going to fit here in our triangle just right. I'm going to grab some multi-purpose liquid glue, and we'll go ahead and glue our triangle down, whether you did the stitch triangles or you cut your own. Easier to glue these down now before we put the box together. And I don't have much of the evening evergreen peeking out from behind it because since it's tapered, you get that nice view of the evening evergreen from the angled sides. All right, now it's time to put this beauty together. We're gonna start with this little tiny triangle tab. Let me dry fit this to show you how it's gonna go together, and then we'll use the glue. So we're gonna line up this cut edge with this score line to start to form that tapered corner. How sharp is that corner? I love that. Then this section, it's kind of this weird triangle, it's going to fold to the inside. We're going to line up this cut edge with this score line. So it's just those two spots that we need to glue. And then it looks like a little bit of a pizza slice here, but we'll tuck the tabs in and then our tab here, and then the box is done. So let's go ahead and use some glue and get this together. Liquid glue is great for this because it gives you a little bit of time to get it right into place. So again, we're going to line up that cut edge with that score line. And just take your time getting that all lined up for a really sharp tapered corner there. I love the things that you can do with paper. This is just an amazing box. All right, so next we're gonna put some liquid glue on this triangle. And you could have trimmed this to be a little bit smaller, but it won't get in the way on the inside of your box. Just wanted to make it easier. All right, so then we're gonna line up this cut edge with this score line. I've got my left index finger on the inside of the box, just kind of sliding everything into place here. And then once that starts to adhere, you can then come in and press from the inside, either with your hand, or you can come in with your bone folder and press that down. Then again, we're gonna tuck in our tabs, tuck in our flap, like so. Oh, that is so cute. So very cute. All right, so let's go ahead and decorate this box. Let's talk about the bundle we're using today, the Tidings and Trimmings bundle. We're gonna use the sentiment, wishing you a joyful Christmas and Happy New Year. I'm gonna stamp that in cherry cobbler onto basic white. This is the Christmas Tidings dies. I've cut a pair of holly leaves from this pair of holly leaves here. I've cut a star from this die, from the gold and rose gold metallic specialty paper. This is the gold. And then I've got a piece of basic white that measures 3/4 by 2 3/4. And the first thing we're gonna do with this piece of basic white is I'm gonna punch it with the Banner's Pick-a-Punch on this banner end here. We're just gonna punch both ends. And I also like to flip this over and make sure that that is centered on the back. Then we'll flip it around and punch the opposite side. And we got that cute sentiment piece with those ends, those banner ends. Then I'm gonna stamp the sentiment in cherry cobbler. All right, so now we've got all of our pieces and parts here. I'm gonna go ahead and adhere the star first. Just a little bit of liquid glue on the back there, and I'll put that at a little bit of an angle. Then I'm gonna put a little bit of glue on the left back side. Have that pop out like a little tag. Then I've got this pair of holly leaves. And then the finishing touch is going to be a trio of the matte decorative dots. And that's a perfect finish to this adorable tapered triangle gift box. I absolutely love the way it turned out. How cute would this be for a table favor? Easy to change this up for Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, any type of holiday you can think of. The finished dimensions, so the top triangle, the edges are 3 inches wide. The bottom triangle, the edges are 4 inches wide, and it's 1 inch in height. So you could probably put some Hershey's Kisses in here, a handful of peppermints, Werther's, maybe a jewelry gift. All kinds of fun stuff could fit in this great box. And I hope you'll give it a try. So thank you so much for joining me today. If you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel and hit that bell icon so you don't miss my next video. If you're interested in purchasing any of the Stampin' Up! Products I used today, they'll be linked in the description. And I'll also include a link to my detailed blog post with all project measurements, details, and a picture of the template. I'd love to have you come visit me at thepaperpixie.com where I post projects to inspire you. And if you don't want to miss a thing, you can subscribe to receive blog updates via email, and you'll receive an email each time I publish a new post. You can shop with me anytime at thepaperpixie.com/shop. And if you're interested in a discount on your Stampin' Up! Purchases, the starter kit is the ultimate bundle, and it's a great way to fulfill your wish list for less. You can purchase the starter kit at thepaperpixie.com/join, and I'd love to welcome you to my team of Paper Pixies in the Stampin' Up! Family. If you don't already have a demonstrator and you'd like complimentary copies of our current catalogs, You can submit a catalog request at thepaperpixie.com/happymail. And if you give this project a try, I'd love to see what you made, so feel free to share it on social media with the hashtag #PaperPixie, and I'll be sure to check it out. Thanks again for watching. I hope you have a wonderful and blessed day. Take care. Bye.